Welcome everyone to our engagement. First and foremost, I want to thank Principal Schumacher for giving us this space. And it's a great school, so we're happy to be here. And this is part of our commitment to be transparent and be engaging. And I do want to start off by reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Have a seat, everyone. We do have a Spanish translator here, but I am also fluently Spanish. So if you have any questions, I will also be available to translate. And first and foremost, I want to just applaud all our great principals, like Principal Lisa Schumacher, who has accomplished a 5-star rating. And yes, round of applause for that. Thank you so much. Some of the things I wanted to highlight about our amazing District E is that we prioritize community engagement, parental engagement, and we're very proud of that. We've seen the outcomes of that. A lot of our elementary schools are doing great. Faciliades, we have good proficiency rates. I want to list off our 5-star schools very quickly. We have West Tech, Faciliades, Bonner Elementary School, Rogage Middle School, Pidgeot, right? That's it. Kick it. Palo Verde, this one, Stanton Elementary School, Fertitta Middle School. And I do want to thank District E because it is known for our upscale community contributes significantly to CCSD budgets. It amplifies resources for undersourced areas. It's allocated $50 million in federal Title I funds for low-income schools, $10 million for literacy interventions, with 70% directed to high poverty areas outside of District E. I've always advocated and ensured that all children, regardless of their family's income, deserve access to quality education. And I know this district maybe doesn't hear it often enough as it should, but I want to say thank you for allowing those resources to be spread out throughout our valley. So do you want to, questions?
Yeah, I like going straight to the questions, like no monologue for me. Let's just get to the good stuff.
We had someone who was going to talk on, what was this? The discussion for the upcoming strategic plan. Do we have someone discussing it?
So I can do it. Sorry about that. My name's Kelsey. I'm from the community engagement.
Kelsey, you want to use this microphone?
Yep. My name's Kelsey. I'm from the community engagement team. Some other team members are going to be here tonight and they couldn't make it. But essentially, the district, if you've been to these meetings before, which because I see several familiar faces, so I know a lot of you have, the school district and our superintendent, along with our trustees, are going to be designing our strategic plan for the school district. So that will lead us over the next several years on how this district is going to go. And they don't want to do it in a vacuum. So the important thing is that we get community input on the strategic plan. And so at every single meeting so far, and that might change, we are asking for your input. So essentially, if you scan the QR code, you'll be asked a singular question, and it essentially asks if there was one change that CCSD could make that would make you proud, what would that be? So if you can take a second to go ahead and fill that out, that would be awesome. We usually pause for a few minutes to allow that. If your service is wonky in here, you can also just jot down this URL for later. There is a destination district survey that went out this week, and it will continue to be rolled out. That is a little more in depth, and this was kind of part one. That second survey that went out this week is more part two. So you'll start to see that, and that one is a lot more comprehensive in trying to get the community and families' feedback on where the district should go from here. So if you have a second while you're here, scan the QR code. We'll wait just a couple minutes, let you fill it out, and then we'll keep going. If you have any difficulties, we can talk after as well, though. Cool. Thank you, everyone.
And I did want to follow back on the key factor that I believe has led to a lot of the successes that we see in our schools here in District E, and that is family engagement, parental involvement. And we do have here in Clark County School District a wide variety of opportunities to be engaged. And I do want to list those off. The district-wide programs and workshops like University of Family Learning, which is a series of classes and workshops for parents and families on topics like parents as teaching partners, navigating the school system, family wellness, leadership, advocacy. We have family academies, super Saturdays. I mean, all of those other engagement opportunities like committees and advisory groups that you can contact the district and try to be a part of, events and school functions, volunteer community involvement opportunities like classroom and school volunteers. Those are opportunities to assist teachers, supervise activities, chaperone field trips. Please check with the school admin to see where you can be helpful. And also PTA, PTO, or SLTs, I should say, is the correct wording for that. Specialized support programs. And again, you can find more information and your opportunity to sign up for these opportunities. You can email familyengagement@nb.ccsd.net, I'm sorry. And we will kick it off with the questions now. So if anyone has a question here, we'll alternate between questions here and the ones previously submitted. So feel free to go first.
Good evening, trustees. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your service. My name is Elena Fabunan, and I would like to address this question to Trustee Biasati. As a leader and a role model for students who watch how adults handle conflict, what specific actions do you take to model civility, collaboration, and respect, especially when conversations become politically charged? Your public posts on X, including reposts from partisan figures, public criticism of CCSD employees, and content referencing groups like Libs of TikTok, have raised concerns about whether this behavior reflects CCSD's governance standards for trustees. When you took your oath of office, you pledged to serve all students in a nonpartisan capacity. How do you ensure that your personal beliefs or online commentary do not undermine that oath or erode public trust in your ability to lead objectively on behalf of every student in our district? So I'd appreciate your response.
First and foremost, thank you for coming here. And I do wish to lead by example that although you may not agree with my views or I don't agree with yours, I respect that you're here and I'm willing to have a conversation. So being able to listen to each other, try to empathize, see where that person is coming from is one of the ways we can model for our children that we can be civil, we can have a decent society where we're willing to engage with each other regardless of our difference of opinions. Freedom of speech, I think we can also show by example that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to censor yourself, change your views, or feel silence just because you have strong convictions. That's one of the freedoms we enjoy in our beautiful country. I can't change your views the same way you can't change mine, but we can be respectful towards each other. And I will continue to express my opinions and my views. I was elected for them by a majority, so those will remain the same. I'm glad to discuss those at any other time if you wish to further engage. But yes, that's the way, by being civil, respectful towards each other and willing to have conversations is the best way, I believe.
Thank you for that, and I completely respect your right to your personal expression. That's not in question, but trustees are held to a governance code that requires impartiality and professionalism. Can you share a specific example where you intentionally set aside political views or personal alliances to make a decision that benefited all students? Or were you actively de-escalated division to refocus the board on student outcomes?
We do it at every board meeting. There's been times when I don't necessarily agree with the views that the rest of my colleagues have, but we focus on what benefits students in the end. So we do put that decision squarely on what's best for the kids. I know you want me to cite an example. I can't remember something off the top of my head. Maybe I wish you would have submitted that question. Would have been given you more time to actually give you an example. But you know, again, nothing trumps your liberties here. And you know, I will continue to exercise my freedom of speech. I hope you don't find that disrespectful. The same way I don't find your views disrespectful. But as long as we're willing to communicate. And as far as the violation of what you mentioned,
Governance policies?
which policy am I violating particularly?
I don't have the exact number with me.
Yeah.
But I only raise this because several of your posts, and she said you couldn't give examples, such as those thanking the libs of TikTok for targeting district employees, referencing gender affirming care as filth, or aligning publicly with national political figures, have been seen by many as inconsistent with CCSD's expectations of neutrality and respect. So this isn't about personal belief, it's about your oath and our trust in your effectiveness as a board member.
Like I said, at the end of the day, all I can reassure you is that our decisions are based on what's best for students, regardless of ideologies or narratives. I've been entrusted with that decision, so I live up to that. I mean, I put that squarely first and front and center. And I mean, I can agree to disagree with, you know, you say that I share things and post, and at the end of the day, I was elected because of my views. So if they don't fit in with the vision that you believe the district has, then maybe we need a new vision, because the majority of parents did vote for me.
And if I could just add one thing, I know.
I respect your input, Trustee Adams, but this is specifically for Trustee BSI.
Yeah, and it's,
She's
and
in
one,
my district,
I
so I
appreciate it.
appreciate that, yeah.
One,
So
we
finally,
are a team, we're a team, and so
I
we
understand
want to
that,
make
but
sure that
this
we're
is,
working together.
and I'm here as a community member, and
Yes.
she is, and I knew this would happen, so I would like to finish, please.
And what I'm gonna
I
ask is that we can
respect-
move along, because this has now been,
Yeah.
like, we have several
Well,
people
okay,
who
I'm
want to
gonna
engage.
finish off this, so finally,
So can we
as one
give
of your
that a chance to ask 2
constituents,
questions?
as
Can we
one of
have
your-
others be able to ask
yeah,
other
let me
questions?
just finish up right here, thank you.
I'd like to ask
Finally-
you to stop that one.
I don't have another question, I
I
would
know,
just like
but
to
you had
finish.
2, and the rest of the room said 0.
Okay,
and we only
and
had 75
I'm
minutes.
taking time out, so I would,
And I know, but can you, maybe when the room
as
is
soon as I
done,
finish,
when
yeah.
the room is
I'd
done,
be
can
more
you
than
come back?
happy to- As soon as I finish, thank you.
Instead of wrap it up.
So finally, as one of your constituents from District Group D, I've requested a one-on-one meeting with you several times, but I haven't received a response. So I understand that other trustees regularly meet with their constituents. So I want to know if you will commit tonight to meet with me one-on-one and other families in your community who have some concerns.
I have met with members of
Yeah, but
my
you haven't met
constituents
with
in the
me.
past, not you in
Yes.
particular, but I have
Yes.
met with others, so I do that. And I will see if and when I have time, so I
I've
commit
asked
to.
several times, so I just want to see
I
if you
never
commit
received
to
a
tonight.
single request, but I commit to checking my schedule
I
to
have
see if and when I
responses
can
from
meet
you.
with you.
Saying that you cannot meet with me at this time. So I'm just asking for a commitment for me and other family members, if you would meet with us.
I have met with several and I will continue to do
Okay,
so.
I'm asking me personally as one of your constituents in your district.
You can send in the request, I'll make sure
I
I
just
check
want
it
to know if
out.
you're going to commit tonight in front of all of your community here.
I commit to meeting with every single
That's
constituent.
all I needed. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. We want to move to a question from a submitted question. The first one here asks, why are we promoting students who can't read, write, or do math when we are losing students? How do you see CCSD will implement all laws passed in the 2025 legislative session? So I know we have a promotion criteria that all of our school leaders use to make sure that they are promoting, and that, you know, we trust our team to design our promotion pathways in a way. I know Dr. Welsh and team are reevaluating how we are looking at promotion to make sure that students are prepared to move on to the next grade. So that's the reason why, you know, what we did previously is not what we're going to do moving forward. But, you know, we've asked Dr. Welsh to examine what that looks like so we can make sure we do better moving forward. And then how do we implement all the laws? You know, we hold Superintendent Ebert accountable to understanding what was passed and then making sure that she is following those rules consistently. And so part of our responsibility is to evaluate her fairly based on what was done and what was not done. So we have the first opportunity to evaluate Superintendent Ebert coming up this spring. So we're excited to be able to give her a fair evaluation based on her performance from this year.
Right, and I do also want to say that raising our standards for our kids is so important because I know that during the legislative sessions, they talked about Read by 3, which Governor Lombardo really supports and signed into law. So one of the things that was mentioned by people opposing it was that what would it do to the self-esteem of our kids if we retain them? And what I said is, what would it do to the self-esteem of our adults? Once our kids become adults and they are not meeting the challenges in the workforce because we kept promoting them when they weren't meeting the standards. So by all means, we have to make sure that we don't keep promoting kids that are not completing academically the standards. So I am a big proponent of Read by 3, and I think we have new leadership. I really trust that Superintendent Ebert is going to continue to implement those requirements.
And the last thing I'll add is it's a complex issue as well, right? So, you know, while the standards are not arbitrary, there's a standard where we recognize that a third grader has read proficiently, where a third grader has done math proficiently. There's also the issue of age, right? Like, you know, I'm a parent of a 14-year-old, and I would feel uncomfortable if in my 14-year-old's classroom, there were 19-year-olds in that same classroom, right? So there are challenges that come with if students aren't prepared to move forward and we continue to hold them back and they're not demonstrating proficiency for whatever reason, and they're still allowed to be in traditional school settings, which then says, okay, well then how do you create a new school setting? That also creates another set of its own challenges. So none of these issues are without their pros and cons, and there's no single answer that's going to say like we do it this way and then everything will be right. I think it's going to require a lot of complex decision making to think about what does it mean when a child is too old? What does it mean, you know, there are a set of circumstances if a child has not been able to show their proficiency by X amount of time. How do we provide them with the very special needs that they need, or special education that they need, so that they can continue to progress? How do we make sure that all students are getting what they need in the right time frame to ensure that they can still be successful? So,
any questions from someone here?
you can go here.
I don't necessarily, can I just speak?
We don't, well, no, because people can't hear online.
Okay. Yay, you gave me the microphone, so kind of you. Okay, slightly lighter question, the last one, kind of really geared towards both of you, so that's nice. I was a teacher in CCSD for 7 years, and as a teacher and a parent, I see something that sometimes frustrates me. I often heard that we need teachers and administrators that look like the students, and when they're talking about that, they're specifically trying to highlight how we need to get more minority administrators and teachers. I don't want to say like the word minority, but whatever, you know, black and brown teachers is what they're talking about. Again, I apologize if that's the wrong terminology. And what's frustrating about that sometimes is I'm a parent of 2 half Chinese children. And I might have mentioned this once in school, but when my son was in 5th grade, they did a great choir performance towards the end of Black History Month, and the choir was connected to that, and a great performance, top notch. And during Asian American Pacific Islander Month, they celebrated Cinco de Mayo. Not one song for the Asian community. Almost every school celebrates Black History Month. Many schools celebrate Latino History Month. not all, honestly. Almost no schools celebrate the Asian American Pacific Islander Month. I really see a large disconnect towards that. What do you say to like all those Asian families? Because like the number one ethnic group at Southwest Tech and the number two ethnic group at West Tech are Asians. The number of administrators at those schools that are Asians is 0. Asians need better representation here. Thankfully, a superintendent's Asian, but anyway, that's kind of my question to you two.
So if I could answer it real quick. Personally, to me, the representation, I don't believe that children need to see them, students need to see themselves in their educators to be successful. I had teachers, great teachers of all, cultural backgrounds, and it didn't really affect whether they were good or not. I think educators come in all shapes
But like
and colors.
celebrating the culture sometimes, I apologize.
When it comes to celebrating the culture, I personally have seen that we celebrate here in America the Chinese New Year. Everywhere that, I've gone, I don't know particularly per school if they celebrated. And maybe that's something you can work with the SLT and try to see how they can be more inclusive of that particular holiday. But when it comes down to educators, I don't believe that we should necessarily get educators based on their race or gender, or because none of that really means they're great teachers. And we need to focus squarely on their merit, on their qualifications and their skills, regardless of who they're teaching. And, we just need great teachers.
I agree. Great teachers are incredibly important. And we need to have great teachers of all that come from all walks of life. And the way you find great teachers is to go to places where you know great teachers will be. So great teachers are at HBCUs, great teachers are at Hispanic serving institutions, great teachers are at PWIs, right? They're all over the country. So it's our responsibility to be able to find great teachers wherever they are. And, right, the qualification for being a great teacher isn't black male, 6'7", from Washington, D.C., right? The qualification for great teacher is a person who understands instruction, a person who understands how to deliver content in a chunk way, the person who can connect with the people. And those people come in all shades, creeds, colors, etc. And so our responsibility is, if we have a student body that looks like those things, our teaching corps should look like those things. And so our HR team should be going to find, where are all the great teachers? Whether it's at Grambling University, Michigan State University, UNLV, right? All of those are different types of universities that have different groups of people, and all will have great teachers. And I think it's important, yes, for children to see in their school leadership, in their classroom leadership, people who share their backgrounds, right? Because I think that's very helpful for them to be able to determine, wait, what is possible for me, right? For a person who shares my background. Oh, Mr. Johnson came from a neighborhood like mine. Well, I can be just like Mr. Johnson because I see several Mr. Johnsons all across my school district, and it means that we are being inclusive. So no, it doesn't mean go find a bad teacher and that bad teacher should have to fill this quota. Quotas actually aren't great for anything. But if you look in places for qualified people, you will find qualified people who come in all the colors, all the creeds, all the diversity that you have inside of your classrooms, because those students didn't just show up from nowhere, they came from all over the country, they came from all over the valley, just like our teaching corps can do the same. And then I really do appreciate what Lorena said earlier. She talked about ways that parents and community members can get involved in their schools. If we want to see different things inside of our schools, and I know our school principal talk about, I'm sure you can see Ms. Schumacher does the same thing. When students and families come with ideas for how to make their school community more inclusive, so whether it's celebrating the Asian Pacific Heritage Month, if it's celebrating Black History Month, if it's celebrating Women's History Month, and students say, I feel passionate about making sure that this part of our school culture is celebrated on our campus, so long as it is appropriate and it is inclusive and it doesn't demean others. I'm positive school leaders want to hear from their student bodies. They want them to advocate for themselves, because the way we learn and grow as a community is when we learn about each other. So Lorena talked earlier about, going out and meeting others and understanding diverse perspectives. One of the first things that we did back when she got elected was we had lunch together so we could learn from each other. We don't necessarily always agree with each other. We had to learn from each other. And she learned about my culture, I learned about hers, and now we have a better connection. And so the same thing will happen in our schools when children advocate for what they want to see inside of their school community. They say, I am half Chinese. I want to share that part of my identity with my school culture. So I'm going to talk to Principal Schumacher about this, and I'm going to get a group of students to do that. So I really implore you, as their parent, and you as your students, to go and advocate for what they want to see on their campuses, because these schools are student schools. They're not our schools. Our students are the ones who are going through this experience every day. And so we want them to be prepared to advocate for what they want to see, so they can kind of create that, they can have that practice, so then they can create that, they have that same civic engagement and can create that in their communities once they're done with school. You get to read a question.
So for the second question submitted, it says, there are 3,744 temporary employees in the district, according to HR data online. Why is this number higher than ever and continuing to climb? How many of those are TFA, which is Teachers for America, who are dramatically undertrained and inexperienced? So one of the reasons that I have heard from teachers that have contacted me is that they feel some sort of teacher burnout. They feel overwhelmed with the system they have to work with when it comes to the workload. Sometimes they don't feel respected in the classroom when it comes to misbehavior, when it comes to fellow staff members. That disrespect carries a long way in their morale. And if they eventually feel like they have to hang up their boots and just call it a day, we don't want that to happen. We don't want those numbers to continue to grow. And one of the things that I really ran on was during my campaign, and I commit myself to that, is making our environment safer for both staff and students, and implementing more safety measures, which the district is trying to actively mediate those concerns. Do you have anything?
The second part of that question, I don't know the exact number of how many TFA teachers are currently in. How many are there?
130.
So 130 teachers out of, well, let's round down. We'll say 16,000 teachers in the teacher force. That's less than 0.5% of the teachers. And those are first and second year teachers. Yes, many of the current teachers who are under the current contract with Teach for America, they'd be first or second year teachers. And then those teachers, many of those teachers go on to not only stay in the school district as teachers, but they also lead in our schools. So for example, the principal at Foothill High School was a Teach for America teacher who's now been here for over 20 years. The principal at Cimarron Memorial High School is also a Teach for America alum. So those teachers, they not only stay in our community and continue to lead, but they stay in our school system and provide additional value. So and then the second part of it, while their training is not the traditional training, they go through an alternative route to licensure, which many teachers in our district have gone through, where they have the opportunity to get their master's degree and the teaching certification from UNLV while they're in the classroom. So they are not doing anything that's outside of the bounds of what traditional teachers are doing in our community. So this is another way. We talked a little bit earlier about how do we find really great people. We find great people by going out and recruiting. And so Teach for America goes across the country to universities in our part of the country, across the country, finds those teachers, they bring them here, and those teachers come into our classrooms, come into our community, not only stay here to teach, but then they also go on to lead in a variety of other ways. So I don't want people to think that, because teachers have gone through a different route aside from a traditional route, they can't still be effective teachers.
And just to piggyback off of that, I do believe we have to raise the standards for our teachers if we're going to also raise the standards for our kids. So we have to always make sure that they are qualified teachers, regardless of where they're coming from. So that's definitely something we're always going to look at. Any other questions here?
Well,
Can you walk up to the podium?
Yeah, so I saw one here, second was Mr. Lee, third was this young lady, and then fourth is in the back. Second is Mr. Lee in the black shirt. third is this woman in the pink and stripes, and then fourth is in the back.
And then fifth
And then
right
fifth
here,
is
Idaho.
Idaho. I'm gonna do my best to do my teacher remembering, but I'll see if I can do it.
Go ahead. Hi, sorry, I'm nervous.
You're amongst friends, don't worry.
So this kind of goes hand in hand with you talking about, raising the standards for teachers. I want to talk about raising standards for principals and leadership. So first of all, my name is Cynthia Gonzalez. I'm a staff member, I'm a parent, and I'm a PTA president. I've also done SOT over the last 5 years, kind of done it all. Our school that we are at is a low income and a Title I. We have made multiple calls for help and support regarding the collaboration, kindness, support, and trust of our principal over the last year. Speaking of great and wonderful teachers, we've lost over 30 due to how she has treated our staff. We have invoked 2 Decker surveys, which we have not received feedback on. What is it going to take besides the multiple complaints? This impacts our community due to tension, division, and overall lack of communication and planning because of having a faulty leader at our school. This creates a wedge between parents, PTA, and staff. And every day our school becomes a more and more non-inclusive environment due to her leadership. Children are not thriving due to the staff that is no longer engaged to come to work. The great teachers that we did lose, the over 30, some of them have been there 15, 20 years. It was staff that I had hoped to put my children in their classes one day, along with other parents. I know that I have reached out and some support has been given, but I'm ready to shine a gigantic spotlight on our school and ask anyone to come forward and support us.
Well, I'm sorry that you've had this experience. We don't want any of our educators to ever go through this type of situation. All I can reassure you is that we have one employee that is accountable to us, and that is the superintendent. And I trust, we're under new leadership, and I trust that she will follow up and follow through and really investigate and get to the bottom of what the problem is and address it and correct it. And so at the end of the day, what we do is hold the superintendent accountable for her actions. And we will continue to monitor the situation and make sure that it's resolved.
I want to let the superintendent know, if she obviously watches this, I have 112 documents, including teachers' letters, people that have transferred and put her as the reason for transfer, parents, grandparents, code of conduct, and multiple pages of examples where blatant racism has occurred, dismissiveness, and it's all here. All 112 pages of work that I put into this is ready for her to look, and I'm ready to answer any questions that she may have.
Ms. Gussie, one thing that I would like to ask, you said you were an employee of the school.
Correct. I worked at the school for 5 years.
I would strongly encourage you to, one, go through the correct channels through HR, and whether you've already done it or not, I'm not commenting whether you have or have not. But that's actually one of the best ways, is having an opportunity to speak to the HR team so that they can then, so if there's a formal complaint that needs to be filed, do that. The other thing, if you are thinking about it from the lens of wearing your parent hat or community hat, every principal is managed by an area supervisor. So you can ask for that person's name, and then that person is then held accountable. So you should be able to do 2 things: write that person, ask for the opportunity to meet with them, share your documentation, whatever documentation that is, share that with them, and then ask for follow-up. How is this going to be followed up on? So that you can, begin to work. What I would also say is every principal is evaluated. And so while you may not be able to get their evaluation because that's a personnel matter, you can also ask to make sure that these types of things are being noted in their evaluation around their responsiveness or their community engagement. Again, this, you want it to be fair in their evaluation. And I'm not saying what you're doing is not fair or what the principal's doing not fair, but everybody needs to be coached. I have a manager, my manager coaches
There's a
me so I can
pipeline.
be better. So first, from your work standpoint, go through the HR channels, whatever those might be. And from your parent standpoint, I would ask you to go and talk to the principal supervisor
Absolutely.
so that they can continue to work with you more closely. And then from that person, there's an area supervisor
Yeah.
who will manage them if in fact what your conflict is not being resolved through that. And it's gonna take a while,
I understand.
but it's the
And
way
I
for you to
I
take
don't mean
action.
to cut you off, because I really want to be totally respectful in this setting. But I do want to let you know, in the last year, we've had multiple safe voices left. Ethics Point has been reached out. We've made bullying and harassment reports. I've reached out to district, region. I've sent a message to Bradley Keating, Kristen Sear, Caitlin Taylor, Joe Caruso.
So,
We've reached out.
so those people
Hold I understand.
they're not the management
We've
line of the
also reached
principal.
out to the DOE, the DOL, we've made OSHA complaints, the union, HR reps through CCSD. And invoked the Decker survey twice, and in every temperature check survey that we've received. And I've asked and submitted a question on the last meeting that was on September 30th.
This is an issue that has reached already the desk of our superintendent, and she will be addressing and following up, and I trust that she will take corrective action.
Thank you so much, and I didn't mean to do the
No worries.
list, but we're trying to do it the right way, and it's just not working.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you so much.
So to go back on one of our pre-submitted questions, because we're taking turns and I will pivot back. The next question was, do you want to take that, number 3?
What can be done to address the disruptive behaviors in classrooms so that a few students, we read all 3 paragraphs or just one of these 3?
It's all three.
Okay, all right, this is a 3-part question. This person really got it in. What can be done to address the disruptive behaviors in classrooms so that a few students are not disrupting the learning of all other students without teachers doing endless paperwork and behavior charts? Second question, why don't we just flip the elementary and high school start times? 9:30 is far too late, extremely dangerous for kids in the dark. And then third part is, why haven't veteran teachers been taken care of? So in terms of the disruptive behaviors, I know Assistant Superintendent McPartland is working really hard to try to look at how do we provide corrective discipline policies that help students and help educators, right? Because what we've seen to this point is that while disruptive behaviors are pervasive, not just here in Clark County, they've been pervasive across the country. We also have seen that even still, when those disruptive behaviors are seen by certain groups of students, corrective action is more severe for certain groups. And so Mr. McPartland is trying to make sure that we have a fair and reasonable consequence ladder for all students when behaviors are disruptive. And we're getting to the root of what's causing that disruption. Most students aren't being disruptive because they want to be. There's an issue that's going on, and I'm not creating excuses for any students. Students need to make sure that we're being respectful, and we need to understand how do we support a student if in fact they are displaying behaviors that are not allowing for them to learn or allowing for the rest of the classroom to learn. So I know Assistant Superintendent McPartland is doing his best to get under it, but we are happy to continue to take suggestions on how to make it better so that we are not unfairly supporting students, and we're not also providing classroom experiences that are not good for all students either.
And if I could just cut in real quick, I have heard that claim across our district where we perhaps are too harsh on discipline when it comes to certain specific demographics but I've yet to see that data. I want to see that it's not in direct consequence to misbehavior. And we need to continue to apply it where there is misbehavior, regardless of what race, ethnicity the student is. We need to maintain a blind form of discipline because the standard has to be the same across the board for all of our students, the expectations. And I'm leaning in now to the START program. I think, I don't want to see our students leaving our campuses because they do need to continue to be educated. And we do have that responsibility to educate all our kids. So with the START program, they can remain on campus, but if it's implemented with behavioral specialists, there's a system where they can be separated from the rest of the students and they can work their way back through structure and gaining that trust and credit to be reintegrated with the rest of the school. So I think there is a way to get kids back to behavior that's acceptable without necessarily having to remove them completely from the school. But they also shouldn't remain in the classroom, disrespecting the teacher and disrupting the rest of the education for our kiddos. So I do agree with that. The second question was, why don't we flip the start times around? I just think we have more kids that are in elementary school, so that would only mean that more kids are going to school at 7 a.m. as opposed to our high schoolers. So flipping it around doesn't seem like a good solution. I wouldn't want to see kids that are walking, that are younger in age, walking to school and during rush hour, and now we just have a majority of our kids at 7 a.m. out of their homes going to school. So I'm not completely in favor of that. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we'll get this is gonna be operational nature, so the superintendent will make the choice, like based on
Yeah, this is
the
a
cost,
discussion.
what it requires. And I don't think it's gonna be as simple as just like swapping one for another. There are a variety, there are like a number of variables that have to go into this decision. So it's not gonna just be, okay, we'll move part A to part C and C to part A. There's gonna have to be some blended model of something that has to happen, because yes, we don't want all of our students automatically going to 7, but at the same time, it's a little untenable for our high school students to continue to have classes that start at 6:35 a.m. That's not a great learning environment for them. So there's going to have to be a medium that gets met there. And just if I could just one more thing about the behavior. Well, yes, I want the system to be blind as well. I want it to be. I want all behaviors to be addressed equally and fairly. I think what we've already seen, like, so when Mr. McPartland has given us data so far, every time that I've seen it, and maybe I've not seen the latest data, but from previous sets of data, every time I've seen it, the groups of students who seem to have the highest number of consequences provided are students who are Black, and we make up 13% of students in the district. And so to me, when I see we're 13% of the student population, but we make up over 3/4 of the student discipline violations, to me that there's an inaccuracy there. And so I don't think Black students are inherently more create more conflict inside the classrooms. And so to me, that's the first thing I think of is it being actually demonstrated fairly? If it was 13%, if we made up 13% of the discipline and we're 13% of the students, I would say yes, it's being distributed fairly. We're generally making up, this is the same number of students who are being disciplined, is the same number of students who are in the rooms. What we see is more than 3 times the number of students who are receiving consequences than there are the number of students. There just may be some things that we need to look at as adults. It's like, why are these students being disciplined so much more than any other group of students?
We just have to make sure that it is in direct result to misbehavior. If there is more misbehavior in one group as opposed to another, we need to get to the direct cause of that misbehavior and to rule out that it's not that we're just focusing on certain areas, because I just don't want to make that judgment call without seeing the data first, that it wasn't in direct response to misbehavior and that there were other factors that were the reason for the discipline. So that's data we can follow up on. I do want to see that further. The other thing is, why aren't veteran teachers being taken care of? We do want to take care of all our veteran teachers. We know what they bring to the district, and it is immeasurable, the skill, the value that our veteran teachers have. So we want to see the teachers union take care of them and have contracts that really respect the work that they've committed to the district. So really falls more on the teachers union. Like I said, we function as a board. When we approve contracts, we want something that works for all our educators. And if these are gaps, I mean, that's something that should be brought to the attention of the teachers union and ultimately make their way to us where we can further analyze that. But I know that we respect our veteran teachers and never want to see or, see that they're not feeling that they're respected in our district.
I think the thing that we have control over is how do we grow the pie? Because I think when I say how do we grow the pie, is we don't have enough resources to be able to ensure that we can pay first-year teachers really well and our veteran teachers what they need. And so our responsibility as a board is to say, yes, we recognize that these things aren't right, and we need to go and get more money into the system so that we can take care of veterans, mid-year, mid-career, and novice teachers all alike. Because that's what we need to do. And so I know we did the best with the resources we could this time around. And our next step is to inject more funds in. And while we're injecting more funds in, I know we're going to be asked for a return. Like, we're going to have to show that there's a return on that investment that the governor is making. So the governor, if he puts more money into the system, he's going to say, what are you doing with that money? Have you shown that this investment is now proving students are learning better, outcomes are better, teachers are happier, et cetera. So that's what we have to do. We have to be able to tell that story, but we also have to be able to ask the governor, yes, you made this one initial investment. We need you to make an additional investment in order to take care of all teachers that they need to be taken care of.
And I think we're ready now for Mr. Lee, was it?
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you for having me. It wasn't my intention to come here. Since I've resided here, I've been coming to engagement meeting. I'm so glad to have it. Make a long story short, I'm a new resident to Nevada. I've spoken before. But before I proceed, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson. Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee, I'm sorry. I apologize, Dr. Lee.
I'm speaking because I want to put what you said to the other trustee to the test. I did share my personal journey that I came here for my sick mom. Let's go with my credentials. From the time I got from high school to college, all I did was want to be a teacher. Got my bachelor's, master's, specialist, my doctorate. I came here to live, assist my mom who's ill. I applied, got an offer. It was null and void because of the hiring. I since then applied for 26 different positions. Some are administrative, some have been going to the classroom. I have superintendents who endorse me, one in Maryland, one in Arkansas, one in Kansas City. I'm concerned, and I said, well, I'm gonna wait because I do understand the hiring freeze. But just one out of those applications I've been reached out to one. So that has made me think. After coming here, people have said, do not apply to Clark County. But all I've known is public education. So when that gentleman spoke, and I said, you mean, and with the websites you look at, and I'm like, wow, that's their credentials. This is who you hire, their credentials. I got 25 plus years and a doctorate and been a teacher all my life. So it does bring the question, is that really an issue? And not only that, I challenge, look at my other school. My district is pleading, are you coming back? Trying to get me to a higher position as a school improvement officer. So some people who I've spoken with in the district have said, one gave me one today, Rainbow Dreams again. And I don't even know the charter schools, I never worked there. And another one, Diplomacy or Democracy, something like that, has said, hey, so they called me and said, hey, they have open, but I made my commitment to Clark County. So I did receive an offer to work in an autism classroom with Segway Middle School. Forgive me, I'm still learning. But, the other part I want to talk about is my work is also in students impacted by trauma. So I've looked at and reached out. My goal is to really work in the engagement area. Applied there too, no response. But I'm taking it as it's still open and because of the setback. But I want to share with the other trustee, as educators, our goal is not only to punish, but to help grow. We have students who come through all different backgrounds who don't have someone raising them. My wife and I have two boys who graduated from college. From the time they were born, they were read to, they were given all the things they needed. All the families don't have that benefit. So at the school I ran in Kansas City, part of my role was having restorative practices, trauma-informed procedures and practices to help those kids who bring those behaviors. It had a reduction of 74.5%. Look it up. My school is was Success Academy at Knox and Success Academy in Anderson in Kansas City Public Schools. So consistent work and strategies to help kids deal with their trauma and their emotions that they bring to school, that they have in their neighborhood. Bring it to the school has a responsibility to help reduce those behaviors so we can do suspensions. Kids suspended aren't learning. So we have to keep that in mind. So I want to challenge you. I'm still waiting. And I can see if I got to interview someone else. Got it? I get it. They just out interview. But to not be called once, I'm gladly going to accept the position, the autism, because I love working at school and I'm miserable right now. But my wife's still in Kansas City, making the transition. She's a little upset. She says, your credentials are way above it. And they are. But I'm here to serve, and I want to make sure that the district knows, not only that, I have all the credentials in the world. Thank you.
So, thank you for sharing that with us, and we do wish you the best of
I
luck.
want to say this too. Two people have been very helpful. Dana Crowley, she's a recruitment officer, and the other one, I reached out and responded, was the superintendent. Everywhere else,
Glad to hear that. And we do have mentorship programs here in the district. I know we have Boys Town, and we approved another one. I forgot, it was another nonprofit.
I forget the name of it.
It was
I
like
can
a
see it.
coaching mentorship for troubled youth in our schools. So we do actively have mentorship programs in CCSD to help those students.
All right, I guess I'll take two of these because they're relatively simple. What type of events will be held in community gatherings? And I think Trustee Biasotti just shared that.
Mandating extracurricular.
That's not a question, it's just like a statement.
Okay.
And then the other one is, how can you persuade other parents to return and send their children to CCSD? So which one of those would you like to take, Trustee Biasotti?
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'll give you the option to pick. You can pick the easy one or the hard one. That's the best. You get two to choose from. I get just one to choose from.
I think the way we can persuade our parents to trust us is by being open to discussion, being open to communication, trying to understand, empathize, and be the liaison, look into what the concern, the issue is, and contact our superintendent and be there for the concerns in our community, and just live up to our oath, what we promised when we were campaigning. Now that we're here, is to continue to do that, keep our promises.
And the other thing I think we can do, really, if I'm a parent and if I were choosing where to send my child, like you all are engaged community members and or parents, I would imagine you want to see what schools are doing well and what are you doing if your school is not doing well, and how do I get engaged with that? So my responsibility is to talk about the ways that we are doing well, the ways that we are growing, the areas that we're putting investments in, so that you as a parent feel comfortable knowing, well, if this school isn't there just yet, I know that they have a plan to get to the place where they're going to go, and this is how they're going to get there. And I'd also want to know, like, transparently, how are your schools doing and why are they doing that way, right? So when we can discuss what we're doing and how we're doing it, I think that's actually really helpful. People feel comfortable when they know you're going to tell me the truth, whether that truth is, you know, the shiny things or the things with the warts. I'm going to hear it all, and you have a plan for how you're going to get better.
And I do also want to stress that we are into new leadership, and we have new trustees. I heard it say out there that we were under fascist rule, but it's not. We're under common sense rule. We all respect each other as colleagues. We have that difference of opinion. We put the success of our students first and foremost, and that's what is our guiding light in all of this. So I would hope that parents trust that there's going to be changes. There's a survey out at ccsd.net, which is the Destination District Survey. It closes on, Caitlin, if you can tell us that, when is the final date to submit that survey? And that actually takes in the ideas that parents want to share for their vision of the district. So all that is what our superintendent is putting together and how she is going to implement the vision of the CCSD going forward. So,
November is 26, I got things.
Okay,
We'll take this young lady in the pink sweater who's been waiting. You still have your
I
question?
think we had Idaho, and then we had.
No, Idaho was number 5. I think in the back.
I was number 3.
She was
Okay.
number 3.
Glad we got a sense.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
My name is Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
I have recently moved to Nevada from the biggest school district in the country, New York City,
New York
to
City.
the 5th biggest. I have a question. You guys both mentioned the raising the standards of the students and the teachers, and I agree with both. And I think teachers in this district have an incredibly hard job due to lack of resources, in my opinion. I mentioned I moved here from New York City, resources in New York, 1 million kids in that school district, resources are very different. But one of the big reasons why this is hard is class size. So we keep accessing teachers and here, for me, for my 2 years of being here, but as class sizes are bigger, it's harder for children to thrive and it's harder for teachers to do their job. So how are we fixing that? And then we say, oh, counts are down, we can't have as many teachers. I don't get it, the math ain't mathing. So what am I, like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's a really complex thing. It seems like it should be simple, right? It seems like it should just be like one kid, this amount of money. But the formulas for how we distribute funds from the government. So the governor gives money to the Department of Education. Department of Education gives money to us per student. We get X amount of dollars per student. And then in addition to that, you know, there's a bit of a multiplier depending on the circumstances of that child. So the child is learning English as a second language. So I'm describing this not just for you, but for the full room. So anyway, the multiplier is based on different circumstances. And what we're finding is that enrollment isn't the same. It's not evenly distributed across the district, which makes it one challenging to be like, okay, in this place we will have this group be over, have more students and less. Like the way that students are under enrolling in schools is not uniform. So that makes it challenging in and of itself. And so in some places there are just enough teachers and just enough students, and that's that. But we can't, because of the way we then distribute monies from our coffers to each school, we actually can't say, oh, well, your school has fewer, your school is doing okay, we're gonna take a little bit of money from you and give it to school B so we can reduce their class sizes. It just doesn't work in that same fashion. So I think the way that the funds distribute and in the ways that our enrollment ebbs and flows across the district has caused some of that challenge to start. And then the last part of it is, again, we actually still don't have enough money in the system. Every time I ask superintendent, well, do we have enough money, even with reduced enrollments, do we have enough money flowing through the system to give every student what they need? And the answer is, while we're always happy for what we've gotten, we could always use more because we need more. So that to me is a no, right? So the answer is no, there's not enough money in the system to provide what we need per student, given the challenges that we have. And the majority of our students in our school district, even if in District E, doesn't share this burden. Majority of students in our district are students who are challenged with being low income. And so low income students require more, but then the way the state has calculated low income still has been changed this year. And so even if you are traditionally low income, you still value those things coming into your school building, but your school doesn't get the same amount of funding that it once did. So it's a really complex, to me, unnecessarily complex formula for trying to make it work. But that complex formula compounded by not enough money in the system makes it so that we have, in some places, overcrowded classrooms. I went to one classroom just a couple of weeks ago, and there were 12 third graders in there, and I was like, this is a fantastic classroom to be in. I'm not, they're not just me, unfortunately, but that's what we have. We have variation across the district, and so I know superintendent is working on that, because while those 12 are getting a fantastic education, it also costs a lot more money, because that one teacher to teach 12 versus in another elementary school you have 27, right? Like, we could balance that out to make sure the math matched in that way. Long answer to say it's really complex, and I wish we had more money in the system.
Great job.
How do we get more money in the system?
That's great. Now you can come with us up to Carson City,
Our
and
legislative.
where we ask them for more money, but we also have to show the results, because it's just like, I don't know if you have children, you give them allowance or whatever, but your boss pays you a paycheck, your boss asks for results on the back end, right? You've got to deliver something, whatever that is. I don't know what your job is. It sounds like you're an educator. But when I get my paycheck, my boss every week says, like, did you get the things done I asked you to do? If I stop doing that, my paycheck is going to stop. And I certainly can't ask for more money.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We have 10 minutes, so we're going to try to squeeze in the 3 other people we had in line. We want to go back there, and then we'll come back to Idaho and then.
I just have 2 quick statements and a question that piggyback off of what some other people have brought up. First thing is, everybody thinks a piece of paper means you're qualified. You get all the education in a college or university you want, but experience trumps all of it. So it's experience, and what people bring is their track record that really truly tells the story of how good of a teacher they are, not the piece of paper that they got in some school. A lot of teachers don't want to come here. We've got a terrible, terrible school system, terrible. If not the worst in the country, probably the second worst. And the United States, I don't know if you checked lately, we're one of the worst education systems in the world. So that doesn't speak too loudly.
We're trying here.
Yeah, well, it's gonna take a lot. When you talk about results and accountability, that's exactly what it's gonna take. The second statement I have is, I know you, Lorena, personally. I've seen what you've done prior to being on a trustee on the school board, and I know you've seen huge violations from school board members. It would have been great to have some support of people from, whether it was this district, another district, that maybe their members weren't the ones causing the problems, that were there to support us and say, you can't do that. That's against the ethics. That's against the rules. I mean, physically violated and thrown out because they took away your right to speak on your time. So my question actually is, in regards to that, what is the school board doing now to make sure that those violations are not going to happen again? Because we've seen far too much of it in the past, with our time of speaking in front of the school boards being taken away, and then the brown coats throwing us out physically and threatening to trespass us when we were not doing anything wrong. What is the school board doing to make sure that stuff doesn't happen again from an ethics standpoint?
We have new leadership. We are no longer under the same superintendent. The trustees in question at the time have basically all been voted out or have resigned. I think we weren't here during those times. They were very contentious times, but we do hold each other accountable. I think everyone is seeing a different face of this board, where we actually try to be civil and respectful towards each other, regardless of the differences of opinions. But yes, we lived through some serious violations, but the community saw them and showed that democracy still lives, that we can replace those representatives with ones that the community feels reflects their concerns. So we have to keep moving forward in that direction. Make sure that the trustees are people that still continue to reflect the values of the community.
I think two quick things. I won't be so long-winded this time. One, we're doing a policy review, so we've all gotten policies that we have to review to make sure that the policies that we have reflect the behavior we want to see from ourselves and from our community. The second thing is we started to set, ground rules around how we conduct ourselves civilly in meetings, right? So from community to the board and board to community, we set those things as joint expectations of community of dialogue during our board meetings. And I think that has been the reason why we can start to move forward.
And I think Irene Bustamante Adams has done a great job also in being that peacemaker and letting the board continue to flow just in a very positive way. So the next question was for,
BYU Idaho.
yes. Go
And
ahead.
then this family here. We have 9 minutes before we expire.
It's rushing over there.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Henry Gonzalez. I'm a CCSD parent. I'm a father of 6 children, 5 of which have gone to CCSD schools. I have volunteered at public schools in the past. I've enjoyed it, tutored kids to read, and I've become disillusioned with the public education system. I'll tell you why. Especially since 2020 and how the pandemic revealed what was being taught at schools. I got duped. I thought my children were being taught to be critical thinkers. Instead, they were being taught that what matters here in America is how you look, and everything is put through a lens of power dynamics, intersectionality. I got duped, and my kids were being taught to be activists, not citizens. I regret that and resent it. And I need you to know that because I had no idea how education had been subsumed by this ideology. And it should not be. Kids, my taxes pay for my children to be educated, not indoctrinated. And that has happened. Somebody scoffed. Who scoffed? Okay. Because I respect all of your opinions and viewpoints. And I think that mine ought to be respected. I'm a member of this community. And I share with all of you your right to an opinion and a viewpoint. So let me just be succinct at this. Education has become a culture of conflict instead of cooperation. I feel like I'm fighting the system rather than working with it like I used to feel. I used to love coming to school and to read with the kids, be part of the whole thing, right? SEL got inserted into our public education by way of just an email. By the way, we're doing this. We're not telling you what it is. It just sounds like a nice addition to teaching the whole child. But they didn't tell us where it comes from. And so for you parents out there who are of the same persuasion that I am, that the way I look has nothing to do with how you experience life, pay attention to this. SEL it's a political project of social engineering. This should not be in our classrooms. And I'll tell you, the DNA comes right from Marx.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt you. Ms. Babinan, if you need to cough, there's a hallway to connect it. You're disrupting. We have to model the behavior that you yourself requested. Be civil and respectful to his speech. There's, yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't mind her coughing. I totally appreciate it. Yeah. No, are you familiar with Paulo Freire?
Yes.
Yeah. That is not a neutral lens. And he has been probably the most influential character that is taught in schools of education. And so this idea of representation, for example, and I'm not denigrating their point of view, I'm challenging it, that I cannot dream of it being a certain person because I don't see that person in that position. That's about the most racist thing I can think of. It's infantilizing. Because it tells me that if I don't see someone of that color in a leadership position, then I can't be that. How racist and reductive is that? What about pioneers who landed on the moon? Did they not think they could do it because there were no other human beings up there? So please don't reduce me to the color of my skin. Don't tell me that I can't be something because I don't see representation in that field. That's not the way it works. It's the content of our character. So please stop teaching these things via SEL, because one of the competencies is social awareness, and that social matters a whole lot. That is social engineering. Paulo Freire, look that name up. Linda Darling Hammond, look that up, and the DNA of where social emotion, especially CASEL, comes from. I don't feel like I have a voice in the system, and I ought to. Thank you for your time. I love both of your points of view. If I may, one last thing, I want to challenge Trustee Johnson on this. You mentioned that Black students make up X percentage of CCSD. This goes back to 2006 or whenever it was that the Obama administration said that Dear Colleagues letter. Students, yes, they have agency. And so just because you're seeing a correlation by way of X amount of students of a certain group are being charged with X amount of outsized infractions. And therefore, that is using correlation equals causation. And it's a logical fallacy. I wish you would not do that because people will believe you. It's using a single factor analysis to solve a multi-factor problem. And I think you're far above that. Thank you.
So I appreciate the debate, and it's always helpful to have varying points of view. I don't think that I say that it's causation. I named that these two things are true. And so for me, it's important to investigate further. And when that's been true for several decades, to me, it means that it's a trend of some sort. And so while I don't know what the root cause of it is, I'm a person who appreciates data, and I look at it quite frequently, both for work and in my personal life. Those things often tell a story, especially when I'm trying to be as objective as possible. So
my apologies if I've been
no offense. I wanted to make sure I was making it to myself clear. This is where I can use my
And I
voice.
want to say thank you so much. I relate so much to you. Thank you for being a fighter. There have been a group of parents that have been fighting the same fight, that saw the same things you did, and which is the reason that I decided to run. And now I'm on this side, and I want to keep being that voice for parents like yourself, because I agree with so much of what you said. And please take my card at the front, because we need to keep in touch. Thank you.
So we're at 7:19, we're 4 minutes over. We gave 4 minutes more than every other group. For 7:13?
Yeah, you can get that last.
Okay, we got one more.
Why do I want to say 7:19? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not trying to get out of this. I thought it was 7:19. That's my bad.
I submitted a question earlier, if you guys didn't get to it, so I was gonna just hang out to see if you get to it in regards to policy regulation 5111. So we met recently with Ms. Schumacher, she was great, and her assistant superintendent or assistant principals here, about the fact we held our child back in 7th grade for academic purposes, not for sports, but for academic reasons. Now that he is left faith, he's enrolled in Palo as a sophomore. Those above the principal and some other folks are trying to, or stating that, hey, he should be a junior, even though he just completed his freshman year this last year. So essentially, we've been on this track to achieve high academic standards for him. That's why we held him back as our choice, as our prerogative in 7th grade, again, not for sports, but for academic reasons, and he's back on track now. Now he arrives to CCSD, Apollo, and to say, hey, because of his age, he should be in an age-appropriate classroom or class grade, or whatever it is. He just completed his freshman year at Faith, and he comes here as a sophomore. So where's the logic, where's the justification in fast-tracking him through high school losing a year? There's no logic. And all I can get is, well, it's per policy. There's no combating this. There's no appealing this. It's just regulation is what it is. Sorry. So who is making those decisions? Who do I need to speak to? Because I have a meeting tomorrow with Gregory Meisel tomorrow in his office, and I want to know answers. Who do I speak to? Who is making the decision that they can tell me that they know better for my child's future? Because what I've heard from you guys, and rightly so, is that the school district should be set up for the child's success. So how are you, if you were fast tracking him through and taking his junior year and condensing it into 9 months, so he loses his year of high school and he graduates next year, how is that setting him up for success? I'm reading over here the mission of Verde High School, and that what's happening to him is not the principal's fault. It's not on the ground people's fault, but above him, somebody's making a decision. We know better than you do as your parents do, and that's not the case. And to be honest, we're fed up with this and we'll be moving. If the decision comes down and says, whoever it is above us that says, hey, he's gonna graduate next year, sorry, he's not going to, he is not ready. I'll move, we're moving out of this county and out of CCSD, because all you're doing is pushing kids through that are not ready. Let's go back to the standard we talked about earlier, the standards. If the kid's not ready to graduate, don't graduate, no. He is not ready. I see this in the foyer, trying to talk to kids, CCSD, college graduates, I don't know UNLVs, they're UNLVs. They went to CCSD, and to be honest, the talent that I see as an employer, if somebody hires for a major corporation across the country, is subpar for CCSD. And compared to other parts of the country, is because of crap like that, which is, again, not you guys, not the principal, or because she's been great and has her staff, but who in the right mind makes this, that we can fast track your kid through high school and he'll be better off, or she will be better off.
Well, I agree that this is a policy that it's ultimately up to us to revise these policies, and I'm willing to go back and take a look at policy 5111. I think that's something we can definitely go back and look into, right?
It is, and I think to answer your question more directly, so the superintendent she drafted this and then brought it to us. Actually, I think what I'd want to understand from her perspective is like, what's the reason for it? I know I don't understand the reason, so I'm not afraid to say that out loud in public. If I don't understand something, I don't understand it. But then, why was it created to begin with? And then what is the way to, because I'm sure they created it for a reason. I don't know what the reason was. And then how do we make sure that we can support that reason without hurting individual students? What is the carve out that might be able to be shown? How can families get an exemption if it's reasonable? But I don't know any of that just yet. So I would love to take your contact info. We meet with the superintendent every other week.
We'll discuss it.
Happy to ask the question, get the understanding, and then figure out what can be done as we move forward.
This isn't just impacting our kids.
It's many, I'm sure it's lots of students, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't understand
So whatever it is,
the reason.
I understand, but it's actually case by case basis by which, let's meet, it's not a one size fits all solution, it's, okay, let's talk about this, and okay, well, that makes sense, let's go ahead and call them back, or whatever it is, or your reasons, not just, no, you guys can't do anything about it, we're God, we're divine. This is our decision, well, somebody's making the decision above the principal and her team, who is making the decision? I want them to sit there and look at me and say, we know better than you guys do, as the parents.
I do encourage you to email the board so the superintendent and all of the trustees will receive your email. It's on Let's Talk, go on ccsd.net, and I encourage you also to please take my card so we can follow up. Thank you.
So I did email Johnson about a month ago.
I'm sorry, I
And I
didn't
never
respond.
got a response about it, and I did speak with Trustee Ramona, she was great, she sent me the policy. But aside from that, like every other response has been like, nope, this is the regulation, and this is it. Our child did attend Sigrogich in 8th grade, and no one pushed him to a freshman year, so I don't know why he was allowed to attend 8th grade at Sigrogich, then went on to freshman year, and then at Faith, and then back at Palo for 10th grade, and that was over, and now it's a problem, but it wasn't a problem in 8th grade.
I think the policy just was enacted
And that's-
recently,
yeah.
which is why your son was
So did
impacted
so then,
during his 10th grade year into 11th grade year.
okay, so if I'm reading your regulation correctly, then is that going to impact every single kid? Because we also have a second grader whose birthday was before August 1st, he turned 5 before August 1st. He's in 2nd grade, so technically, according to your regulation, he needs to be pushed up to 3rd grade.
And I would say again, please email us that
Yeah.
information, and it would go to the trustees, and we can forward it to the correct departments, check up with the superintendent, and please take my card. I look forward to that email. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Thank you for your questions. Let's continue to strive for the best. Thank you. Bye.